30 days of clicking balls like an idiot. Let's go. Okay, so these are my scores on day 1. The goal is to improve my static scores as much as possible. I'll also go over what I think to be the optimal way to go about improving static, in case you're having a hard time as well. I made a static routine to follow daily, which takes around 30 minutes to complete. I don't want it to be too long, as I want to follow this routine next to the Voltaic Fundamental Diamond routine I'm already following. This way I still train all types of aim, but put emphasis on the static clicking aspect. The code to this routine is in the description in case you want to try it as well. Some of you might be asking, why? Why on earth would I spend around an hour a day clicking dots? What's the point? What static, as people call it, is mostly useful for is training the ability to go from point A to point B as quickly and precisely as possible. Mostly seen in tactical shooters, as enemies generally don't move as much. Basically, it's to train so your crosshair goes where you want it to go. This is a very important aspect of overall aim, so that's why I want to improve it, especially because to me it's the one I struggle with the most. Static also tends to be the aspect of aim where people have the hardest time to improve. I've tried to focus on static before with very minimal results, so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I break through this plateau and make as much progress as possible this month. I'm going to do my routines every single day except for the last day of each week, where I just do the benchmarks to track my progress. Alright, so this week is mainly to focus on proper form to aim optimally, which is in my opinion the following. Keep travel distance as short as possible. The shorter the distance, the more efficient your aim. So when starting at point A, I try to flick as quickly as possible to point B in a straight line, making sure I don't over flick. If you over flick, you have to correct the placement of your crosshair back in the direction you came from, which means the total distance traveled is longer than if you'd under flicked and corrected it that way. Some people are against intentionally under flicking, but I think this is the way, because over time you'll get better and your under flicks will land closer and closer to the target, making your necessary micro corrections smaller and smaller. This is always better than over flicking and correcting back to where you came from. Go for high accuracy. I go for around 95% accuracy, as I feel like that's the sweet spot for accuracy and speed. So if my AC is consistently higher, I try to speed up to really push myself. If it's lower, I slow down to make sure I hit my shots and don't train myself to miss. So go slow at first, just keep slightly going outside of your comfort zone to expand it. Now also worth mentioning is the BART pill, where you really focus on accuracy. Today I grinded the Voltaic Benchmarks and I managed to get fully diamond static scores, which even after training so much static for the past week was pretty hard for me to get. I did not manage to get those last diamond switching scores. Since I'm so close to diamond complete now, I also tried the advanced benchmarks for a bit. They're still quite hard for me, but I did manage to get my first ever jade scores, which were unimaginable just a month ago. I'll try my very best to get more of those next week. Okay, so I'm gonna be completely honest, this week didn't go that well. Missed a ton of training sessions because life. Let's just forget about this week and I'll make up for it next week. This was a good week. I usually do the tracking part of the fundamental routine first to warm up, then proceed by doing my own static routine. Then later in the day I finish with the rest of the fundamental routine. Static still feels pretty hard and progress seems quite slow, unfortunately. Let's see how the benchmark day goes. First static jade scores in the pocket, as I managed to get 130 in the white wall. I also managed to get quite a few other jade scores, very nice. This week was very similar to last week, but I got kinda lazy and skipped the second part of the fundamental routine a few times, so I got less static and target switching practice in than I was supposed to. I got some plans for the last week though to really push my limits. Let's see if I made any progress this week first. Kinda expected, but my scores did not improve much at all, apart from my tracking smoothness. Alright, so last week wasn't very successful, so this week I'm going balls to the wall. Monday I played with the lower sensitivity, 50 centimeters, to engage more of my arm and shoulder doing these static scenarios and train speed. I definitely feel like lower sense is more OP for static scenarios. Tuesday I played with the higher sensitivity, 25 centimeters, to engage more of my wrist and fingers and train precision. A bit harder, but I still got similar scores. The rest of the week I mainly just did static scenarios and a couple of other static routines that can be found in my Discord server in the routines chat. I had 2 days completely dedicated to doing the benchmarks. I managed to get Jade in one wall 4 targets small, and I broke a lot of my other scores as well. This is the final sheet compared to what it was like when I started this challenge. Not bad at all if I say so myself. If you look at my averages, it's only quite a small improvement though, not the big rise I was hoping for. Taking one wall 4 targets small as an example, I went from top 15% on day 1 to top 6% on day 30. Nothing insane, but I am happy I finally made some real progress. To be honest, I expected to be able to improve more with this amount of time invested, but most of my newbie gains are over with my 500 hours of total training, and just like with the growing hair, it takes quite a bit of time to see real progress. So did any of this help me whatsoever in game? In game, I noticed myself to automatically snap onto targets. I'll put some clips here of me near the end of the static challenge. How much of this is actually thanks to the training is hard to tell, of course, but sometimes I surprised myself with the flicks I was landing. Whereas I usually took way longer to confirm that I was on target, now that sort of went very quickly and automatically. I still suck at Valorant though. I also did a similar 30-day challenge with tracking, which you might also like.